Hello and welcome back to another video. So, turf season 2023 for us anyways is finally over. This is the last trailer full that needs to be thrown basically just over there into the shed. This is the last trailer full that needs to be emptied, and then turf 2023 is then officially over for us. We actually got the turf cut this year very early. We got it cut in the middle of May, and then we went around what we call pizza slicers to slice them, to cut them up into sizable lengths, so they're easier turn and they're easier wreckle. And then they were about a week or two drying, and then at around the end of May, the start of June, we turned them. And they were turned then for another week or two, and then half of them were ready to bring home, and we didn't even wreckle some of them. For the majority of the turf this year, a lot of them were just brought home from the ground because they were dry. They were turned, and they were dry both sides. They were dry enough to bring home from the ground. Some of them were a bit sort of chunky, heavy, and had a bit of moisture still left in them, so any heavier ones we wreckled. But there was feck all of this turf wreckled this year, which in my lifetime, and I'm only about 21, I've never brought home turf that has not been wreckled. I'd never brought home turf that we had to pick up straight from the ground and throw it in to the trailer. Usually it'd be wreckled, but yeah, some of them were wreckled, some of them weren't. And the turf is nice and dry actually. Probably the best bits of turf we got in a very long time. And there you go. You can, I don't know will the camera pick it up right, but they're good dry sods of turf. Pure dry. So I'm going to start digging a hole in the corner so that I can climb into the trailer, and we'll start throwing in a lock of this turf into there. Some of that might need to be built first as well. So I'll go around because there's a bit going that way at the back also that might need to be built. So I'll go have a look at it first. Any bits that need to be built, I'll build them up, make room to throw more sods in, and then we can start emptying the trailer. Yeah, I'm going to wreckle this area here and a bit up there just to make room. That bit there is already wreckled. We'll probably go as high up to the roof as we possibly can, but it starts to sort of decline, and it's kind of dark in here because I'm in the back of the shed, but I don't know how much you can see. I do apologise. I'll probably brighten up the thing in when I'm editing anyways, but I'm going to put the camera down. I'm going to start building up this section, and then I'm going to move over there, and then we can actually start throwing in the turf. Okay, so I built up as much as I could there. There's a nice hollow there to be filled in with turf, and there's no ladder here. If I had one, I'd go a bit further, but I'm only standing on bags here. So I built as far as I could reach from sort of there to the post here, but there should be a nice little dent there and a nice little dent there to throw a bit more turf in. So I don't know what corner I should start on. There's a ladder the far side. I might be able to try and squeeze it in here, or I could climb up at the top and start in this corner, because I want to fill up in here. No point starting in that far corner because, you know, there's sort of a big mountain. You know, the easier way to do it is from this corner, and I've direct access then to fill up this and then to build up a bit more. So what I might do is climb up the ladder the far side and crawl on top of the turf and try and dig my way down, so that I have plenty of room to stand up in and to throw turf in. But I mightn't record that, because that's the most awkwardest and slowest part, is to sort of break into the trailer, make a sort of a hole for yourself to stand into, and then the rest of it is then easy, I guess. I've made myself a little hole. It's only small now, there's not a whole lot of room for throwing, but I might start digging this way a small bit and make room that way for literally throwing the sods up there. Obviously things are starting to become a bit more tighter, not a whole lot of room, but we just have to make do with what we got. So I threw up as far as I could, but what I might have to do later on is literally climb up on that and throw any of that sods further back against the tin work, basically the wall, the tin work at the back, just to make sure that I'm actually getting it right back there. I mightn't be throwing it back right back there from the trailer, which is why I might have to climb up there and basically just shove them back a bit more and make a bit more room closer to me and the trailer for throwing it up. But it's starting to fill up there. I might have to do a bit more building along there. There's more sods now there for building, so, and the further this way I push, I might be able to start building this section from the trailer. But if I can get this section all the way down to the front top crib, I'll take this top crib off, drop it down on the ground, and I don't have to throw it over the top crib. It's just down here, then it's a shorter, I don't have to lift it up as high and stuff, if you know what I mean. But yeah, there's obviously there's a ladder there and a stepped ladder there, so if push comes to shove, I'll have to try and squeeze either or in here, see can I build a bit more if I cannot reach it from the trailer itself. But yeah, the shed is filling up nicely. There's still a nice load on the trailer, but the more you throw in, the building uses up a lot of turf as well. So again, it'll be a tight squeeze, but we'll see how much of this we can fit in. Right, so there should be enough swimming room there to throw the turf in, and it's sort of that distance that I'll be taking going that way. It's more or less about half, maybe just under half of the trailer from the back. Oh yeah, if I can take sort of that distance the whole way through to the far side, it's not bad going. And again, that's starting to build up there, so I might have to climb up, as I mentioned, up on the stack there and start throwing it further back near the tin work. I'd start throwing now here and filling up these holes, and maybe alongside there fill that up a bit more, and then I'll get back to building. Hopefully I'll be able to reach a bit here from the trailer as well, because that needs to be built up a small bit as well. But yeah, it's very hot in here as well. The tin work, it's warm enough in here, but anyways, let's get up there and throw a bit more back. Now, so I pushed it as back there as I could, as back as far into the corner as I could, and I just came out then level with that face there. So I can throw a bit more there, I can fill up that hole and throw a bit more than on top of that before I even have to start building. So hopefully I'll start digging this way, and hopefully that'll give me enough room, if I'm able to reach from the trailer with the crib on, to start building that then. But for now, I'm going to take a quick breather and then I'll get back at it. Alright, so the rope reaches the halfway point. That there is, well, this whole crib here is basically the full length of the trailer. It's a 7x11 trailer, so this is literally an 11-foot crib. It's not split in half or anything. These are the bottom side doors, so that's halfway. So we've reached halfway on the trailer. The rope is tied there, and it's tied on the crib on the far side as well, and that's basically to keep the cribs pushed together when the turf is in it, so they don't stretch out and sort of lean out that way, if you know what I mean. So technically I have a quarter of the trailer done, because on the back end, the 7-foot side, I've halfway reached basically for throwing room, and on the 11-foot side I'm halfway through there as well, so I've a quarter of the trailer emptied, which isn't too bad going for one person who has to throw in the turf and build. I'm basically doing everything here. But even with the crib on it so far, I should be able to lean forward enough to reach a couple of sods and build up this area. Once I can build up enough, I can start try and get this in, take the crib off, and then I should have way more leaning room, because obviously the side doors are lower, and I could even put the side doors down and have them leaning on this and stand on them. So yeah, once I can get this cleared out of the way, I can get the crib taken off, and that will make life a little bit more easier. A couple of the sods fell because this corner here is very low. This definitely needs to be built up quite a bit. In fairness, it needs to be sort of built up similar to that height, and yeah, it's a bit down. So that side needs to be built up. I can stand on those plastic bags. Hopefully I'm tall enough. And then we can build up this. So let's get to building. That built, so you can see there's a little hollow there where it's sucked in. The old man basically built most of this. I think he went in a bit too far there, and especially when we have to reach near the roof or maybe about there, or you know, it has to go up a bit more, and he was sort of starting to make the wall tilt in a bit too low and a bit too much. So hopefully that won't cause any issues down the road, and it won't cause the whole lot to fall down on the ground in the winter time. But I've started building. If my building starts to come out a small bit, I'll just get a shovel or the turf rake and just gently tap it in, and that should sort that issue out. But last year I built all of that. It's still standing, still looking good, and the Owl Man basically built most of this, if not all of it. So obviously there's this side here that needs to be built up. I'll do that off camera now. I won't burden you with throwing in turf and building it, because it's just turf at the end of the day. But I'll do that off camera, and we can get back to start throwing it in, pushing this further back, and hopefully all of this here will fit into there, and then I can take off the crib, put down the 2 doors so that I can actually stand on them, and I'll have a better reach to get sods of turf that are further in, and then I should be able to build that up no bother. So first of all, I'll build that up off camera, and then I'll come back to you. Okay, there's a small bit of a gap there. I was hoping to get this built around a similar level to that one, but I was not able to. The rest of the sods are out of my reach, so I'm going to have to try and throw more over that wall and land them somewhere here. I've built up a bit back there as well, but the next time I build that, I think I'm going to need some sort of ladder, because that has gone past my reach now. So I'm going to have to try and squeeze a ladder through. I could get a ladder through that gap there, because as you can see there, it's nearly hitting the roof there. I don't know how high we need to go with it. There's still about just over half a trailer left. There is fairly full, so I think what I might do is start throwing in a bit more, building up then here again, and then I might have to, I don't know, we'll see. The only way I could build up that is by using whatever sods is there, building it up, then climbing up on top, probably to the front, and start throwing whatever is at the front back there, because I won't be able to get back there now from throwing it from the trailer itself. So yeah, if I do build up higher there, if I need to build up higher, we'll see. I mightn't have to, but if I do, we'll just use whatever sods is lying there, and then to fill up any hole that's there, throw whatever sods here is at the front back there to fill it up, and just to give the wall a bit of support at the back. It's closer to it. There's only about 4 or 5 sods in the difference there, so that's not too bad. There's a bit of a hollow here now, so you know, I could start throwing a bit more in here. Obviously the front is to do, the front needs to be built up as well. So I guess I might go up, have a bite to eat, and I'll come back down, and we'll restart the whole process again of throwing it in and building and throwing it in. And yeah, a lot of people don't like emptying trailers of turf. Me personally, it's not the best, it's not the funnest of jobs, but it's a job that has to be done nonetheless. And you know, you might look at the trailer and say, "Yes, there's a lot in that," but once you get started and you get about half an hour done, you realise that you're not doing too bad. Progress is fairly fast, and there isn't a whole lot in the trailer after all. But the shed itself is starting to build up. That's last year's turf over there. That pole, the far side of that pole, is last year's turf. So I think this year's turf is going to be built higher than last year's one, believe it or not. But yeah, and this side is a bit lower, as you can see. But don't worry, it'll all be built up. I think I could probably throw a bit more in there, and I don't know what to do. I guess anyways, I'm going up to have a bite to eat. When I come back down, I might throw a small bit in there, try and make more room so I can push up further and get in along there for building. And I guess build it up a small bit, throw in a small bit and build up a small bit. That's basically all I can do. Room is very limited. The shed is getting a bit full, so I think the process is starting to slow up now, because I won't be able to throw in as much turf in between throwing and building it. There'd be a stage when you could throw in basically that amount of turf or more before you even have to start thinking about building it. But when the shed gets full, it's basically throw in a handful of turf and then build a couple of sods up and throw in a handful and build it up. So yeah, the process is starting to slow down because the shed is getting full. But there isn't a whole pile in the trailer. We nearly have half of the trailer emptied, so that's not too bad going. That's a bit more thrown in. The rope is starting to get in the way. I did try to untie it, but it's an awful tight knot there, and I can't really pull it towards me because there's a big pile of turf on top of it. It is tight the other side. I don't know where it is. It could be tied on the crib itself or down by the axle at the bottom, but I'll try untying it that side. If I'm not able to, I'm just going to have to try and I'll have to step this side of the rope when I'm throwing in more sods of turf, which isn't ideal, but if you kind of get it off, you kind of have to work around it. Now, you should know by this point I have to do a bit more building. That's built up level to whatever that side was built up to. The only thing that's not built up to the side is this one back here, but I'm not worried about this at the moment. I might try and throw as much in here as possible and keep building up this as possible, but obviously here in this corner it's going to start falling down, so I will eventually have to try and build that up, but I still need the ladder to get up and down off the trailer. I could use the step ladder there, but I'm afraid that mightn't be high enough. So I think the ladder is the best shout for in there to get a bit of height and to get a bit of reach as well. Because those standing on those bags now, it's gone a bit too high for me. Now, and as you've seen there, I started building with the sods I threw in. But then I started building from the sods, picking sods out of the trailer and using them to build. So what I might do is, if I kind of take off this rope, then I kind of take off the crib, which I kind of fold these down to stand on, I'll just use the sods in the trailer, build this up, and then any hollow that's then appearing behind it, I'll just throw more in until it builds up more, and then I can use the sods then from that pile, a bit of the sods from that pile. Once they run out and I cannot reach any more, I can start using the sods again in this trailer, building it up and then throwing more in, if you know what I mean. So I done a bit of work off camera, and I built up this section here, and then over there I'll give you a better view in a minute, but any bits that were at the front, I threw them all this way. So now this bit is full and it's built. I might have to go up a bit more, we'll see. It's still not level with the front wall, but I mightn't have to make it level with that, I don't know yet. You see, building on this side is okay because it's not an awkward or long throw from the trailer to throw the sods. But when you're building back there, you cannot really throw the sods, you know, from the trailer up to there. So I have to climb up, take any sods that are at the front of the pile and toss them backwards and keep moving it this way. So it's not ideal, but it's the only way that I can do it with the situation I'm in now. So I'll do a bit more work off camera because it's just quicker. I'm not slobbering, messing around with the camera. So I'll do a small bit off camera and I'll keep you updated as well. And then once I get the trailer more out of the trailer, because it'll be quicker because I'm not messing around with the camera, I'll get most of that trailer emptied, some of that built more, maybe some of this built more. I'll keep updating you every now and then. I don't want to update you too often because that's it's only boring, that. But yeah, I'll do a lot more off camera. I'll get it done quicker. I'll get some content later down the road after a while when I've most of the trailer finished, or when I've most of the trailer emptied. But for now, I'm going to put down the camera and I will talk to you in a while. And the trailer is emptied. It's all thrown up and built. That's all of this year's turf 2023. So the last time I checked up on you, I think I said that I was going to do some off camera and then maybe do the last bit on camera. But I was throwing up a small bit and then building, throwing up a small bit and then building a small bit. So the process was a bit slow, but it was quicker without having to slobber with a camera, messing around with a camera. So it was quicker even though it was slowed down because of how high it was getting and because we needed to do a lot more building to fit it all in. I'll also update you on around the post there, the corner, basically that side along the tin work there. I'll show you the situation around there as well. But yeah, anyways, when I was throwing in and building, the Owlman arrived and he started building the far side, so I kept throwing bits here and building, and also throwing him a couple of sods as well for him to be building the far side. And I know I mentioned this in nearly every video, but he does not want to be recorded and thrown on YouTube. But again, he was sort of out of frame there. I could have put the camera anywhere. I even could have put the camera up on the turf there or anywhere on the trailer or anywhere, and he wouldn't have been in the actual frame of it. So, you know, but since we had a good system going, we were fairly going through it and getting it done way quicker than I was by myself. I just said I wouldn't bother recording me throwing in the last bit, and I just said I'd give you a quick update, and that's what it looks like now. So there you go, that's turf 2023. That's last year's turf 2022. So this would be back in 2022 when that turf was the new turf and this was 2021's turf. I dug a corner over there, and it was the grandmother and we this time were taking the turf out of this shed. We have our own shed for turf, but the sods in it were wet and fresh sods, so they weren't really ready for burning, so we just took it out of this shed. But for now, and that's why there was a lot taken out of that shed, that's why there was a big hole, because there was 2 households taking it out of that in between those posts. And the system we have, we've been doing this for a very long time, is that we're always a year ahead. So for example, this is 2021's turf. We're going to be using that now in the winter of 2000. No, this was 2022's turf. So we'll be using that in the winter of 2023 and 24. And then come the winter of 2024 and 25, we'll be using that turf when this side will be filled with turf 2024. It's a bit complicated when I'm trying to explain it, but we're always a year ahead. That's last year's turf. That's this year's turf. We always start burning last year's turf. And the reason why there isn't a whole lot of turf here compared to that side was because last year we had our own turf shed, so we threw some of this turf into our own shed and we threw this into this shed. But because 2 households were taking it out of this turf shed, not just the grandmother, there was a lot more turf burned here than there would ever be, because obviously we have our own turf shed. And this is our own turf shed. This is turf from last year, so obviously it's in way better condition than what it was, as you can see. So this winter we'll be burning out of our own turf shed, while the grandmother will be burning out of her own turf shed, rather than the 2 households burning out of the 1 turf shed. Hopefully that's cleared up. And this is where the owl man was building. He built it up to the roof itself. As you can see, it's directly on the tin work for the whole, that's the roof. Now me personally, I wasn't going to build it that high. I was going to build this side gradually and the far side gradually and keep throwing in and trying to get as much in as possible. But he built this side up to the roof, as you can see, and then we just started throwing in, filling up any holes along here. And then it turns out we had to build that other side up a bit as well. So I have the 2 angles here, so that's built up to roughly the roof. Here is a bit lower, but the rest of it is built up to the roof. Then you have this side that's nearly built up to the roof. So we just kept throwing as far as back this side as we could, building it up. And then once this side was built, there was literally a big hole from taking out the sods to build it, that we threw a lock, basically probably just over a quarter of the trailer of what was left, just over a quarter of what was left in the trailer, to fill up this hole here. And then we decided to build this up a small bit, and obviously the trailer is empty now and it's all in, and there's a lot of turf there, as you can clearly see, a lot of turf. And that is that. And I know this video wasn't everyone's cup of tea, but I am trying to do a bit more fresher content, that it's not always the same content over and over again. But obviously this is a farming YouTube channel, so the farming content is here to stay, obviously. But it's nice just to put in some extra bit of content, just to freshen things up and spicing things up on the channel, so you know. But I know this mightn't be everyone's cup of tea. It's probably not the most entertaining video, but it's something to watch and see how people do their turf compared to how maybe you do your turf. But that is going to be the end of today's video. If you liked it, please give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, and turn the bell notification icon on to be notified of every future video I upload. Check out my merch, the link to that will be down in the description, and check out the GateMate, the link to that will also be down in the description. But that is it for me. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video very soon. Take care.